each of these topics that you discuss, as I said, you tell stories about people. And you mentioned Joe Moglia, who is now the chairman of Ameritrade, I believe.
That's right.
And while he didn't know he was a singer, he also showed great adaptability in his own life. Maybe you could share that story with us and talking a little bit about some of these topics.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he wanted to be a coach. Actually, he had a whole vision in his head as far as what he wanted to do when he was younger, and then his girlfriend got pregnant. So there went the vision. He married her and worked for his father in a grocery store to make money and meet the needs of his family. Then he was a coach and just in his heart felt that he wasn't happy anymore, and decided to try out his hand at Wall Street and got into the training program at Merrill Lynch. He said, it was funny because I think there were 40 MBAs and one coach going to the training program, and he had to make the case that, look, one thing that I'm really good at is motivating. As a coach, I motivate a team. I get camaraderie going, and I unify a team, and I think I could be of real value to Merrill. Well, sure enough, he got the training job at Merrill and rose through the ranks and ended up becoming one of the senior executives at Merrill Lynch and stayed there for 2 decades, more than 2 decades actually, and then decided he wasn't happy and wanted to press the reset button again. And so went back and became a coach again at Dartmouth, and then continued coaching until he was offered a job at Ameritrade, TD Ameritrade. Ran TD Ameritrade really in the boom times of the individual investor, when people were empowered to make their own financial decisions, and making Ameritrade quite popular and wealthy in the process. And then Joe decided he wanted to switch again, and now he's a coach again. So
At
you know,
Nebraska, right?
at Nebraska, yeah. So you know, I mean, it's stories like that that you have to give him so much credit for following his heart and doing what he loves. And I think that's, you know, there were a lot of things that I wanted to put into the 10 laws, and certainly that would be one of them. Although it, you know, loving what you do is not spelled out as one of the 10 laws, but it's ingrained in some of these others, in some of the other laws. But that's what Joe has always done, and that's why he's so successful, because he just does what he loves.
Yeah. You tell a great story, again, back to Gary Kasparov, the chess champion. You were talking to him about Chesley Sullenberger and the Miracle on the Hudson, and this is in the Vision chapter, if I recall correctly. And he said something that stuck with you, and it stuck with me when I read it in the book, that Sullenberger was able to do that because his whole life had prepared him for that moment. Later in the book, you talk about when you yourself threw out the first ball at Yankee Stadium, about a little mantra that you had, that I am where I'm supposed to be. Could you talk a little bit about that theme? Because it's really important about how people bring together all of their experiences, from the mundane to the grand, from the serendipitous to the planned, to make proper judgments. I'm
so glad you brought that up, because that is so powerful for me. I am where I'm supposed to be. On Sully, the pilot, that was an unbelievable story. They were calling it the Miracle on the Hudson, and I was talking with Gary about it, and I said, isn't it unbelievable that, you know, he said, okay, you know, brace for impact. The plane was down in the water. I mean, that the vision of that woman holding her baby and having to throw the baby across to another boat is just unbelievable. And Gary's one remark about the whole story, the one thing that came to his, and he's such a strategic thinker, that's why I kept going back to him on this book to get his take on different laws. He said his entire life prepared him for that. And I just stopped and I thought about it, and I said, yeah, you're right. He's never had an accident. He never even had a close call. Always been a conservative guy, and yet when life presented him with something to do in an instant, he knew what to do, and he did it well, and everyone survived. And it was a moment of judgment, and it's true. So I started to think about, what is my life preparing me for? And what are the lives of all of these successful people that I speak to all the time preparing them for? And I think it's an interesting question to ask yourself, because it also brings you back to purpose and what matters. You know, what matters most to you. So it really does have legs in so many directions, that idea. I think that throughout a lifetime, you are trying to endure, you are trying to strive for greatness in some ways, and along the way, you're learning different lessons to prepare you for something that will come later and you're not even aware of it. Right. So that was just such a wonderful story, and I think that it played so well into this prepared him. And so I'm still thinking about, you know, what each experience that I'm going through in my life and the people that I've spoken with in the book, what that is setting me up for. As far as the other comment from Dan, who helped me prepare for the pitch at Yankee Stadium. Right. When they called me to do the pitch, I thought, wow, this is so exciting, you know. But I'm not a pitcher. I mean, I'm not an athlete, and I certainly don't want to get booed by 60,000 fans at Yankee Stadium. So I called on the help of my friend Dan Imparata, and he is a tennis guide. He's a hiking guide. He's an all-around athlete, and I know him from Arizona. He spent so much time with me, you know, coaching me to throw the first pitch. And then when we got to Yankee Stadium, he came with me to the game with my husband. And I said to him, oh, God, I mean, I looked around at the stands, and it was so packed with 60,000 people. And then there's the dugout, and there's Joe Torre. And, you know, it was just really a lot of anxiety. So I looked at him, and I said, Dan, I can't believe this. I mean, yeah, I've practiced, but I've got to go to that mound and throw it, and it's not going to bounce. And he just looked at me right in my eye, and he said, Maria, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. It was so powerful. I take that now with me all the time. I may go interview, you know, President Obama, I mean, Alan Greenspan, whomever. And if I have this much anxiety, I remember in my mind, I remember what Dan told me, Maria, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And it just gives me the confidence that I need. So I think that it's such an important reminder, and it's an important confidence booster as long as you've done the work and you actually are ready. All the anxiety and worry in the world can't take that away from you. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think it's very powerful.